Hi, my name is Ellie Bublick. I'm Dan B. Dobbs Professor of Law at the University of Arizona, and I'm here to talk about my book, Torts and Compensation. I think the feature that distinguishes our book the most is that the cases are very up-to-date. Dan Dobbs, Paul Hayden, and I are authors of the leading treatise on tort law, and every year we go through more than 1,000 cases looking for the most interesting cases to add to our book.
Hi, I'm Paul Hayden. I'm Associate Dean and Professor at Loyola Law School, Los Angeles, and I'm co-author with Dan Dobbs and Ellie Bublick of Torts and Compensation. Any traditional casebook, including ours, uses as the primary vehicle for instruction edited cases. We obviously don't write those cases, we edit them. But the notes and the connecting material, we do write. And I think for first-year students especially, it's important for the materials to be accessible, to be in plain English, to not be stilted, to be conversational. So we try to make the book something of a conversation between the teacher, the casebook authors, and the students.
I think the transition from the last edition to this edition should be fairly seamless because we're using the same process that we've always used in terms of updating cases every year. The additions in this new edition are drawn from hundreds of cases from the last 3 years. Torts is a very serious subject, but it's also very engaging, and Dan Dobbs has always had a very fun voice in this book, and that's something that we've tried to keep in all of our editions.
Teachers like our book because it's straightforward in its presentation of the doctrine. We present the material in a logical order, but we also present it in a way that facilitates reordering it. That is, each section within a chapter often can stand alone and be reordered, as can chapters after the beginning materials. Any professor who's using the book, and frankly we sometimes get contact from students using the book, should feel free to contact us, ask us questions, make comments. We promise to get back to you. We're fully aware, of course, that many torts professors don't have the same number of credit hours now as we used to have years ago to teach the subject in. To address that phenomenon, we prepared in the last edition, and again in this edition, a concise casebook as an alternative to those professors who want less materials. In choosing which materials to cut, we started with materials that were at the end of the book that few professors would get to if they had limited credit hours. That involves the economic and dignitary torts primarily. But then we went back to the beginning of the book and looked at those areas that could safely be cut without damaging the flow or coverage of the basic course. A lot of this involved eliminating note materials that were perhaps too detailed for a professor who has fewer credit hours. We're very proud of our teacher's manual. The teacher's manual literally tries to explain everything we've done, explain every choice we've made. It sometimes looks like a telephone book of a major city in length, but it's easy to use because we've split each chapter of the teacher's manual into sections. You can read only the first section if you wish. You can go directly only to part of the book that you have a question about. But we give an explanation of how we would teach each case. We give answers to literally every question asked in the notes, and we give often a synopsis of each case cited in the notes. So we attempt to make this as easy to use for a new professor as we possibly can.
I can say with confidence that this teacher's manual is incredibly helpful because this is a teacher's manual that I used in my first year of teaching. And there were answers to every single question asked in the casebook. So I never had to worry that I would go into class not understanding any part of the materials. From the number of compliments that we get about the teacher's manual, I'm sure that other teachers find this manual very helpful as well.
I gave a talk some years ago at my oldest daughter's elementary school. One of the students was asking me about being a lawyer and being a law professor. So, of course, being a professor, I answered him with a question. I said, "What do you think law is?" One little girl shot up her hand, and she said, "Law is what keeps everyone from simply crashing together." I think that's right. The law in its majesty keeps everyone from just crashing together. It's a kind of order that's fundamental to our government and to our society, and that's why I love it.
I'm always thankful for the opportunity that I had to learn from Dan Dobbs. Sometimes you hear stories about a potter who says, "Oh, I never had any formal training," but it turns out that the potter's grandmother is one of the greatest artists of all time. And I feel like I had the benefit of that education with Dan because he showed me for years how to edit a case, how to think about a chapter, and we worked together so closely for so many years that I hope in the work that I do, I'm reflecting the craft that he taught me.